What's up everyone, John from ARTV. It's time for a review of the, yes, surprising 8th album by Incubus. It's called 8, and these guys have been on a break for a while now. It's been since 2011 since we got If Not Now, When? And I think that's what fans have been asking themselves for a while now. Like, if it's not coming out in 2014 or 2015 or 2016, if not now, when? In all seriousness, if you're interested in what the band has been up to in this downtime, the hard times and the hardships and just the other activities that they've experienced during the time between Incubus albums, I'd recommend reading their Rolling Stone interview that they recently did right before the album dropped. Now, I'm honestly surprised at how much this record is sticking for me. This is something, if you're wondering the overall sound, it's not something like Science, it's not something like Make Yourself, Morning View, or even If Not Now, When? It's something in its completely own lane, and I think I like that because that's really what they needed. They needed something to really rejuvenate them, and honestly, it's kind of weird how this album came to be. Dave Sardy was originally the producer of this, but then just a couple of weeks or maybe like a month and a half before the record came out, Skrillex just drops in because he's friends with the guitarist who has a lot of connections in the electronic world, and he was just like, yeah, let's get Skrillex to produce this, or else reproduce, or else remix a lot of these tracks. The first one that he worked on was Familiar Faces. They liked it so much, Skrillex had an opening, why not go for it? I honestly feel like Skrillex was up to the task here. I mean, he was in the band from first to last, so he knows the rock world. He was in the hardcore scene for a long time before ever dubbing the name Skrillex. He's Sonny Moore. He still knows what he's doing as far as a producer, just a music maker in general. He is a musician and he knew what to do with these songs. And I don't think that they changed a ton of things here. It just seems like they kind of fine-tuned. Like, there's a new mix of the lead single Nimble Bastard, and there's a little bit more of an electronic glow to it, but it sounds good, and it's something that honestly pumps it up a little bit more. It adds a little bit of spice and flair to the track that it lacked in the first place. And I'm not saying that this is one of those songs that just totally has me won over. I am kind of on the fence, especially the more I listen to it, because it feels like it gets a little monotonous, but still, I love that it's high octane and it sees Incubus just breaking free of whatever that last album was. The energy was so low, I practically fell asleep while listening to it. I've been a fan of Incubus for a while now, whether it be their early records or my personal favorite Morning View or even A Crow Left of Murder, which was a much more political record, something that in this political climate, this day and age, it still fits and it still hits home, honestly. Some of these tracks like Megalomaniac, holy shit, Donald Trump, it's for you. It's your wake-up call right there. You are mad with power, and I could see them doing something like that. If that was for George Bush, then I would hate to see what they would make for Trump. And I am a little bit disappointed that they didn't go more political on this record, but at the same time, I understand that their lead singer has been put through the ringer. He's been pushed to his limits. He didn't know if him and the rest of the band ever wanted to do Incubus again. They didn't have the motivation, they didn't have the chemistry, and then they found that again, and then the lead singer had a long-term relationship just come to a crashing halt. Something that wasn't a nasty split, he said, but something that hurt them both nonetheless and left them broken. Or, as you can see on some of these tracks, the loneliest he's ever been in his entire life. Moments like that, Glitterbomb, Undefeated, just that part of the record right there, it's just a sullen swell. You see him sinking into the sadness, but still managing to lift himself and the rest of the band back up. And I do enjoy that. So even though this record is not really politically charged at all, I still think it works for them because it's what they needed. And at the end of the day, it's all about what the artist needs to put out there to the world for themselves first, and then I think everybody else comes next. Because if Incubus weren't making the music they wanted to, they probably wouldn't have even bothered coming back. Brandon Boyd was very transparent and honest with his lyrical content on this record, and that's something that I really do enjoy overall about 8. It's something that I can totally get behind and respect just because I feel like things are so overblown a lot of the time or exaggerated, but here he's writing honest songs that have a much different production style and approach to even just playing their instruments for the rest of the band in general. Some of the drumming is fast-paced, more in your face, like No Fun and Nimble Bastard, but then it gets a little bit more technical and some of these bass grooves really start to grab you. And some of the guitars, like on the the all-instrumental Make No Sound in the Digital Forest. It's something that maybe perhaps runs a bit long, but at the same time, you can't help but just kind of go into space with this track. It's something that you can totally vibe out to for a night drive. Whatever tomorrow brings, I'll be there. It might take some getting used to for hardcore fans, but the piano hits and the electronics are really what make a lot of this record work, especially on moments like the personal anthem, something that's very empowering that's called Undefeated, or even Glitterbomb. The last part of that song, easily my favorite part. It takes a total 180, changes things up, goes in a synthy direction, and it kind of has a synth breakdown, and I was like, what? And especially as he's repeating that phrase where it really sticks with me. I was your friend, but I ended up your victim. Basically saying I was taken advantage of. I was just another person that you were passing along the way. And now I'm left here with these feelings to deal with, and I think the instrumental really does a great job of evoking that emotion from Boyd's voice. There's a few forgettable moments that do pile up along the way. I really can't understand why they chose State of the Art as one of the singles from this record. It definitely feels very tame, very caged, and lack of personality on this track in general. I think a lot of people are going to say Incubus in general on 8, they had an identity crisis, but I don't really feel that way. I do feel like it's been a long time since they made a record. They're just getting back into it. Sure, we had the Trust Fall Side AEP, which I do feel like was pretty weird. It was kind of out there and it really didn't have that great of a float to it. But here, this is them getting back on their feet, basically declaring, like they said on the song Undefeated, I'm not dead yet, we're not dead yet as a band. And I do like that aspect of it. One of those tracks that does talk about it more on the positive side of the spectrum that I am enjoying overall is Familiar Faces. That's the one that I said that Skrillex really came in, kind of said, oh, let's take another look at this. And then he started working on the rest of the record as well. I see that as being about their place in the music industry. Coming back, seeing all of these people and how the climate of music has changed. Just record labels, their long-term label dropped them. They ended up signing to Island. And it's been something where if you're gone for that long, especially in the world of rock, what are you to do at this point? I have to say, I got a little bit triggered whenever I heard the intro to Love in a Time of Surveillance. It took me back to those days of dial-up because the song starts off with the trying to connect to the internet, and it just reminded me of all those days waiting to get on AOL in 2001, waiting for my parents to get off the phone line so that I could chat it up with my friends. Get me away. I have fiber now. I have fiber now. Love in a Time of Surveillance is one of my least favorites here, though. It plays to a rockier side of the band, but it kind of feels out of place on this record. I don't know if that's just me. I like some of the lyrical content. I get what they're driving at, basically saying it's harder and harder to find love whenever we're really, it seems like, all just spying and stalking each other through maybe social media or not really approaching each other in public and instead choosing to lurk online. I don't know if that's the overall message of the song that they were trying to send, but that's what I'm getting from it. And it just feels, I don't know, a little bit played out, like Big Dada's watching, Big Dada's gonna be there around the corner. I don't know. I definitely commend the close of this record. It really comes to a climax with Make No Sound in the Digital Forest. I already praised the guitar on it, and like I said, it's a little bit lengthy. They could have shortened that up, even though it's only 3 minutes. They could have made it like a 1.5-minute interlude or something like that. But I do like that they kind of groove and jam here, and I'm definitely getting used to it. And I love the ending transition and how they work in that sample. I'm not exactly sure what that's from, probably from a movie or something like that, but they basically say, I have no fucking clue, referring to the next song, Throw Out the Map. We're lost. Where are we? It could be referring to the band, it could be referring to the nation that we're in, whatever it is, these troubled times. I love that Incubus basically get back to rocking to close out the record instead of choosing to go out on a soft note, a swan song or something. I see Incubus's 8 as being a record about getting your confidence back. How Incubus got their groove back. Here we are with album number 8. What are they gonna do? What are they gonna offer us? It's not perfect by any means, but still, like I said, they're getting back on their feet, they're rebuilding, and they seriously put down some very solid tracks here that I do enjoy. It's really surprising me how some of these songs have already ingrained their melody in my head. It doesn't happen for me that often, especially with the amount of music that I listen to on a daily basis. For these songs to already be embedded, that's a good sign. So overall for this record, if you want to see my least favorites and favorites, check the description. I'm gonna give it a 3.5 out of 5. Let me know your thoughts on 8 by Incubus in the comment section down below. Leave a like on the video while you're here, and if you're able to, support me on Patreon. It's that annotation over there in the corner to help the videos keep coming on a monthly basis. Click right here for another video that I did recently, or a top 10 that I did in the recent weeks. Other than that, you can find me on social media, linked in the description, and I'll see you very soon on ARTV.